Friends, how many of us have them? Friends, as you so call them, they only hit you up when they need trees for the blunt. Friends, how many of us have them? Okay. Hope you like my little introduction there to the 2 or 3 of you watching. I don't have any friends, so I'm assuming it will be 0 people watching. But I don't care. So, today's topic, and that's kind of what today's topic is about. Friendship. The Friendship was a sailboat that took off in the 1800s over the Middle Passage. The Friendship had a lot of slaves on it. Okay, I'm just bullshitting here. Okay, enough chit chat, enough shit chattery going on here. Today, no more jokes. No, especially about slavery. It is a special month. We're not going to do that. We're not going to joke about anything bad or dark. But March 1st. We'll get back to... Okay. Friendship. It was not a sailboat. It was not a method... it wasn't a mode of transportation. Sorry. Hope I'm not getting it. Hope I'm not getting it. I've never had COVID because I don't have friends. Very important step. Very important way of never getting sick is never socialize. Just stay home, read books. You know, don't do much. Okay. The friendship epidemic, the loneliness pandemic. This is what we're going to be talking about today. Now, I'm sure you have heard in former videos of mine. If you watch at all, I don't think anyone's watching. But if you have been paying attention, you probably have heard me allude to the fact that I don't think I said I don't have any friends, but what I said was I no longer believe in friends and friendships any longer. And this is a phenomenon that has occurred in the last 3 or 4 years in particular. There's a thing here. As I get older, there's some kind of cat here. Friends! So, as I have gotten older, I have noticed that the modern world is not conducive to fostering friendships. Now, I don't need to get into all the reasons why this is happening, because I'm sure you have at least seen one article in which some, nebbish, some guy with glasses is writing an article about the loneliness pandemic. Or some AI thing is writing an article about the loneliness pandemic. And the reasons usually given are, the main one is, capitalism, atomization. It's very hard to maintain a friendship, let alone multiple friendships, as an adult under this hell world we're living in, where it's dog eat dog, and I'm going to apply for this job, and I'm not going to tell anyone else that I saw this job listing. My friend is asking me for help. I'm not going to give it to him because I need to apply for this job first, and I don't want anyone else to know about it. It's hard to maintain a friendship under such a competitive landscape, hellscape. And as a side note, I would also say the following... What I'm about to say is also true for love and relationships as well. But you're not ready for that conversation yet. I don't think you are truly ready for the topic of capitalism and love cannot coexist. So we're going to talk about friendship first, because that's like foreplay, getting into before we get to the darker subjects. But, so, capitalism, atomization, COVID lockdowns, and such. These have all... Sorry, I'm just checking up, making sure my cat isn't doing anything he's not supposed to be doing. My only friend. So, the COVID lockdowns and so forth. These are all things that have, reasons that the so-called media, or as Kanye would call it, the JM. These are things that the excuses listed for why people are so lonely these days, okay? Now, I'm not going to get into people's reasons too much, because I want to jump off and just get to my own reasons about why I no longer believe in friendships. But I'm just gonna give you... this is the article I'm talking about. Some guy's Substack. Sorry. A man by the name of, or woman, I don't know, or they, them, my apologies, Anton Ceballo. An article by the name of The Social Recession by the Numbers. Fewer friends, relationships on the decline, delayed adulthood, trust at an all-time low, there's capitalism, and many diseases of despair. The prognosis is not great. So that's how the article starts. And the article just basically goes on to say that there's all these statistics, like, for example, church membership is on the decline. There's no sense of community, and I don't know if you heard that, but my cat he's got the zoomies right now. So there's a decline in friendship and so forth. And this other article by John Clifton, The Power of Work Friends. And by the way, an interesting thing is that both of these articles were published in October 2022. So there's something in the atmosphere. I'm not crazy. And these two writers are not crazy. And the people that are talking about this they're telling you facts. Friendship is on the decline. So, okay, other guy, John Clifton, he says, more than 300 million people globally don't have a single friend, according to Gallup data. And more than 20% of people don't have friends or family they can count on whenever they need them. Friends! How many of us have them? Well, according to a Gallup poll, more than 20%. If MF Doom were alive today, he would have his answer. Okay. So, I gave you the real statistics here, and, there was one other video, or one other thing that I wanted to reference before I jump off into my personal take on what is happening. This is not an article, but it's I believe it's TikTok. I think it was TikTok. A young woman of the Asian variety. I'm not saying if I'm just painting a picture in case I can't find the link. Okay? So don't get upset with me. This Asian girl made a video about her take on I'll try to find the video. Don't worry about it. But she was talking about how her take on the loneliness epidemic / social recession thingy was that most people these days see connection and friendships with people as a zero-sum game. And she gets into it a bit smarter than I could because it's her take. But what I liked about that video was that it kind of explains that, in a way, capitalism has bled into how we view each other. So when she says stuff like zero-sum game, people are looking at each other like, okay, you either have 12 followers or you have 9,000,000 quadrillion. So people are looking at each other in these cynic terms where they're like, are you a person that is worth even being a friend? Because nobody even wants to be your friend, so why should I? It's like a, what's the phrase? Self-fulfilling. Nah, that's not it. I don't even think that's right. But, ass. So, I wanted to use all that stuff I just said to jump off into my take on the topic. So, as I have already mentioned, I do not believe in friendships any longer. Now, don't get me wrong. I do have a couple of acquaintances, but these are not people that I would personally define as or consider to be true / genuine friends. Because all my videos, I got burping issues. Okay, because in modern times, I believe it's not just capitalism, but something about technology has warped the modern brain where people, I don't think they know how to be friends with each other any longer. And more, I'm getting the sense that I'm surrounded by, and I'm going to use a cliche term here, NPCs. Now, for those of you that are normies and you're not really sure what the term NPCs means, it's non-playable character. It's I don't play video games because I turned 31 at the end of the month, and I believe that any man that is self-respecting should not play video games past the age of 25 maybe, and that's being generous. But non-playable characters, what are they? They are just the people in the background that they don't do shit. They're not part of the game, really. If you walk into a supermarket and you see just people in your community just walking around just like Sims, just hitting their heads on shit, that's an NPC. And that, my friend, is who I would argue you are surrounded by if you're not a normie, and who most of us are all surrounded by, okay? Now, I'm not saying this to sound like I'm some genius or I'm better than anyone and blah, 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 but what I mean by this is it's hard to really describe what I'm talking about. If you know, you just know. But what I'm trying to say is, in this society, there are not, how do I put this? There's not rocks, there's marbles. So what I mean by this is the people that you are around, most 99.9999999%. And it's funny I just said 9999 because I'm about to get Hitlery on you. I would argue that a vast majority of this society, when I say they're marbles, or that they're not rocks, these are the types of people that would allow themselves to go in the direction of any manner society and culture goes. These people don't really think for themselves. They're not philosophers. They're not, I don't know. They just don't think about life beyond, oh, I woke up. I went to the supermarket. Oh, there's meat. They're robots. They're automatons. They are Sorry, I was checking to see if the microphone was actually on. But Okay, so NPCs, how does that translate to friendships? You might be wondering at home. Well, it has to do with connection, okay? How am I, as a genius, contradicting everything I just said, but how am I, a fairly intelligent guy, I'm not a genius, how am I supposed to truly connect with someone who is like, they would literally, in any other time period, they would probably be a Nazi? Do you know what I'm trying to say here? The only reason why they're not a Nazi today is because it's not in vogue. Now, I'm using an extreme example, but I feel like on a lower level, this is how everyone kind of is. The smarter you get, the more you see society and people for what they really are, which is a bunch of NPCs and people that have no value systems, people that are unable to connect. Most men are like this that I encounter. They like sports and whatever. Most women I know are like this. They will like you, and then past a certain point, if you say something they disagree with, they'll just write you off as a whole person. So, okay, the NPC thing. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is about technology again, is that I feel like most people do not really know how to be friends with each other anymore. I've talked about AI already and how we've already lost. Everyone already kind of is an AI. When you communicate with the average person, people will send you stuff in meme. They'll send you just no words, not even a thing that says, hey, this made me think of you and blah, blah, blah. Just send a meme, just a picture of a cat. So you just open your phone and all you just see is a picture of just a cat. I find more and more these days I am forced to react to people's text messages and their things that they're sending me with just haha, or just I click like on the thing and that's it. Nobody asks how are you doing. Nobody tells me happy birthday on my birthday, which is the end of the month, by the way, if anyone would like to. Nobody, it's not the Victorian times. Nobody's telling you, hey, this meme of a cat made me think of you, and I was just wondering, how are you doing? I just think, Larry, you were doing a marvelous job on your, blah, blah, blah. I read this on your website. You did a marvelous job on blah, blah. Nobody cares. Everyone, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's capitalism bleeding into how we view each other. Nobody cares about each other. It's like people don't care about me. So why should I give a shit about them? Do you see where I'm going with this? And I feel like more and more these days, if someone is not adding or giving to your life in any way, then what does that mean? Well, the only thing it means is that they are taking something from you. And what are they taking? They're taking your time. They're taking your attention away off of whatever task you were doing. If you're like me, one of the ways that I rectify loneliness and solitude or whatever is by immersing myself. And I'm not special. I know a lot of people are like this. Van Gogh was like this. To battle your mental illness as an artist, what I like to do is immerse myself in a particular project. And that is the antidepressant. That is the cure for whatever ailment that is bothering you at the time. I don't believe in therapy and white people inventions of that nature. What you have to do is just immerse yourself in your art and your work and be so focused on it the outside world ceases to exist in a way. So, when someone is sending you a text message of just nothing, there's no value in it. If it was like a thing of food, it would be a can of Coke. So you open your phone and someone's giving you a can of Coke. Here, take a can of Coke, throwing it at your face. You're trying to read a book. You're trying to read Tolstoy. You're trying to read good old Dusty. You're trying to read Proust. There's value in what you're reading. You're trying to read Mikhail Sholokhov. You're trying to read a good book, okay? And what happens? Someone from your past sends you a text message of a picture of a kitten taking a shit. Now, you could argue that does kind of add value in your life if you like video depictions of poo coming out of animals. I personally do not. But, so what have they done in that action? They have disrupted your attention. They have ruined your flow state, all because they want to connect with you and they have no idea how to do it. There are other things I wanted to say about this, but I'm not going to be editing and doing all this fancy YouTube stuff that a lot of people do. Oh, by the way, let me just take a little break here. This is a segue off of the topic of friendship. But in one of the last videos, I recorded this video about friendship recently. But you know what happened was I talked about John Tory in it. And in the time that I talked about John Tory, the mayor of Toronto, if you're unfamiliar, former mayor, in the time that I recorded the video and I was about to hit upload, he found himself embroiled in a sexual scandal. And he resigned as mayor. So that video, I can't really upload it anymore. So I'm just redoing it now. But the reason why I brought up John Tory in that video that I was talking about is because I wanted to talk about how the class system is a myth. There is no such thing as the 1% and the 99%. The middle class was a psyop. There's no such thing as the middle class. The middle class was invented by people like John Tory, former mayor of Toronto, who couldn't keep his penis in his pants and couldn't help himself from abusing his power, like most white men that find themselves in such positions. The 1% invented the myth of the middle class to keep people segregated and to keep people against each other. So now you have a bunch of hoodlums, a bunch of ruffians murdering homeless people in Toronto because they think of themselves as better or like above the homeless guy in some way because they think, oh, that guy, it does not belong to the same class system as me. Well, I have news for you. You and the homeless guy you have more in common with the homeless guy than you do with John Tory sitting at the top. There is no middle class. There is the 1%, and then there is everyone else. And everyone else is homeless people, teachers, doctors, lawyers, whatever. It doesn't matter if there's a hierarchy and people make more money. It's just 1% pieces of poo, which is how, I'm not saying that we are pieces of poo. I'm just saying that's how they view us at the top. But anyway, that was just a little side passage there I wanted to get into. So what else did I have to say about friendships? Why I do not believe in friendships. Okay, I talked about most people are taking more than they're giving. Technology has changed the way people interact. I think I talked about this, but there was more I wanted to say, especially with text messaging. Now, you have to understand something about your uncle Larry Singleton. I was around pre-iPhone era, and you're looking at me now, so I'm around post-iPhone era. And I can honestly tell you, and I wrote a novel about this, it's called The Lost Generation. I can honestly tell you that there was something vastly different in the way people communicated pre-iPhone and post-iPhone. Okay? 2007, I would say that's one of those like 9/11-y markers of time. But because we are all so enamored with capitalism and progress and technology, whatever, we think of that as like a triumph. Nope. Friends, how many of us have them? No, it's the opposite. The opposite happened. Communication got worse in the summer of 2007. When Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone, he did not help humanity. He damaged it profoundly. And I'm going to get back to what I mean. Technology has changed the way most people interact. And I'll give you another example about text messaging. There are a lot of people in my phone, and that's how I consider them. I don't consider them like friends or not even acquaintances, really. They're just people in my phone. They're not in my physical, real life. They're just in my phone. And the phone to me is not real. You can throw it across the room and nothing is going to happen to you. So, yes, there are people in my life that they will text me and I will text back. And this is, by the way, mind you, this is only when they actually do, put in some effort, marginal effort, and type words. This is not the meme example I said before. But the few times that there are communications, they send a message, I send a message, that goes on back and forth, and then sometimes it'll just die. And then maybe 2 or 3 days later, I'll get a response from someone, as if like nothing, as if you're just picking up where we left off. What kind of shit is that? Like, I'm not an afterthought. I'm not a hussy, okay? I'm not a little phone hoe. You can't just pick up the phone and put it down whenever you want to talk to me. I don't really appreciate I don't really enjoy being considered an afterthought. And furthermore, I no longer want to participate in a society as mediocre as this, okay? Like I said, the way to battle the loneliness pandemic and so forth is just read a book. Sit in your room and eat a can of tuna and read a book. Hang out with your cat if you need interaction. And just read a book. Just watch a movie. Maybe masturbate. Read another book. Go out for a walk. Say hello to the old pedophile in your community sitting on his porch reading a copy of the 1998 newspaper that he uses as a decoy, but he's secretly also masturbating. All right. So I wanted to leave you with a solution here. Okay. So if true friends in these modern times do not exist, what is the solution here? So this is something I struggle with. But I already said the reading the book thing. But one thing I am truly worried about is, this is going to end on a downer note, by the way. It's not really uplifting. Sorry. Friends, how many of us have... So, something I worry about is, there's all these studies coming out now about how friends are good for us and we need friendships because you can get Alzheimer's and shit like that if you have no friends, which is this guy. I don't really have any friendships or whatever, or community. So that is something I am worried about as I get older, because there's going to be plaque forming in my brain because I don't really have a community of people to ask, hey, you remember that thing we did like 5 years ago when we worked on that puzzle together in the community? Nobody is around me. All it is just me and books and my cat. And statistically, my cat might pass away in a few years, which I'm not looking forward to that either. But, so, what is the solution to this? I just took a shit on your doorstep. The one solution I think there is I'm looking forward to the progress we have made, if you want to call it progress, of euthanasia in Canada. Legal euthanasia. Because that's how dark humanity has gotten in the past few years. We used to have to argue about euthanasia in the early 2000s. Terry Schiavo was a big deal in the news. Everyone was like, you can't pull the plug. That's a life. Don't you see this person there drooling? She's still alive. But now, I think everyone, like I said, we've all been abandoned. Nobody, there's zero leaders. John Tory is having sex with minors. 31-year-olds that he employs and forces them to so they can keep their jobs. We've all been abandoned to the point now that medically assistance in dying is becoming commonplace. So, that's the only solution I have for you. If you're worried about the fact that you have no friends, this is half an hour so far. Okay, wow. I'm going to end it here. When I say end it, I mean the video. I don't mean my life. It's not time for that yet. In a couple of years, though. But if you are like me and you have no friends, you don't have anyone that remembers shit in your life, people are just kind of NPCs in your phone. And here, by the way, this is another example I want to give you, just to show you how little people give a shit about me. I am a writer, okay? I write books. I'm a novelist. I self-publish books. Every once in a while, I'll get a message from one of my so-called friends. How many of us have them, etc., etc. And the balls on these people, they will ask me, hey, Larry, I notice you're always posting about books. I was just wondering, I'm going away on this vacation next month for like a week. Can you just suggest me a couple of books that you might think I might like? And you always have I always remember you having great taste in books. Can you just give me a suggestion for a good book you think I should read? The balls on these people to ask me to my face to recommend them a book when they know full well that I am a writer. So they're not going to buy my books. They're not going to support. They're like, to my face, they're going to say, yeah, I don't want to support you because you're brown, and I don't like seeing brown people have upward mobility or prosper in any manner. So can you recommend me a book of a dead white man that I'm not going to understand probably because I'm fucking stupid, and I'm just going to read 10 pages of it and throw it to the corner and then maybe take a picture for my Instagram to make it look like, oh, look, I read Crime and Punishment. So you have a person in your life that writes books who is alive and well, and you're going to ask him to recommend another book. You know what? I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of people using me. I'm sick of people taking more than giving me. I'm not saying you got to tickle my balls and play with my shaft and put a finger up the taint in the manner that I like. I just want to leave you with that image for a couple of seconds. You don't have to do any of those things. I mean, if you want to, you can feel free. You'd be my best friend. But I'm not saying, bow down to King Larry. But at the same time, there needs to be some kind of respect. And I'm not getting that feeling anymore from people. So you know what? In order to get respect, you got to give respect. And I'm done. I'm done with people. At this point, if I could afford to drop this mic, I would drop it on the floor like a African-American comedian. But I'm not going to do that. But just know, in my head, when I said I'm done, I dropped it. But yeah, I'm done with people using me. I'm just done with this society and just being part of the group or whatever. What group? Who needs a group? And some people might say stuff like, well, Larry, why would you let negativity bring you down? You have to respond to negativity with positivity and blah, blah, blah. You know what I say to that? Fuck that and fuck you. You're not my friend. Buy my books. Support me. Tell me happy birthday on my birthday. Tickle the taint and... But you know what I mean. There is no such thing as friendships in this capitalistic enterprise we find ourselves in. I have maybe like 2 friends. My mother, my father, 2.5, and my cat. So that's 2.5. 2.5. I'm trying to chop off my finger. Banshees of Inisherin. Chop it off. 2.5 friends I have. Just picture the last finger as chopped off. Banshees of Inisherin, bitch. 2.5. 2.5. You know that show, 2.5 Men? I'm going to start my own show. 2.5 Friends, bitch. Nobody cares about me, so why should I care about them? You feel me, dog? Friends! How many of us have the...